Hey, aloha, everybody. So, our special guest for this week on our second episode of Leaders Lattes is our own State Representative Diamond Garcia in District 42, who is in charge of Ho'opili, Ewa Beach, and Kapolei. And so he's already serving our district right now as a state representative. And I'm assuming you're running again right now, Diamond?
Yep, I'm running for re-election right now. We got
And
11 days left.
was that 11 days left?
11 days left.
And so you've done a lot for our community in Kapolei, and I see you on the news a lot. Pretty much every other week you're always on there voicing your opinion. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What got you into politics? Where you're from? Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Raf, for having me on here. I'm Diamond Garcia. I have the honor of serving the good people of Kapolei, Ho'opili, and Ewa for these last 2 years in the House of Representatives. Prior to winning election in 2022, I served on the Nanakuli Maili Neighborhood Board as vice chair for a few years. Prior to that was in ministry. And then also from 2019 to 2021, I served as chief of staff to Representative Gene Ward from Hawaii Kai in the House. And so was able to see the whole organizational structure of what goes on in the big square building, how to navigate through it. And then once I won, was able to hit the ground running and really fight for the issues that matter most to us. But I'm born and raised here on the west side. I have 4 brothers, 1 sister, was raised a portion of in Waipahu, the Waianae Coast, and I went to Hawaiian Mission Academy. I'm a graduate of Hawaiian Mission Academy for high school. And then in 2018, I first ran for state senate on the Waianae Coast. We lost that race, but got 44%, which is a big deal for somebody who was a no-namer, first time running against a 20-year incumbent. And then after that, I was working in the ledge for a few years, and then I won election in 2022 and currently running for re-election.
So between 2000, your first run was 2018, correct?
18, yes. Yep.
Did you try again running after that?
I did. I ran in 2020 for State House in Nanakuli and Maili, and we lost that by 2%. It was a super close race because a third candidate jumped in, and normally third candidates, they get less than 5%, but when races are super close, 2% means anything. So,
well, you know what they say, fail fast, fail forward, right? And you kept getting up, and now look where you're at today. So super huge accomplishment for yourself. So you serving in our district in Kapolei, which is a pretty big district, right? We're considered the second city. You have Ho'opili, growing community, and then you have Kapolei.
Statewide right now,
fastest growing, building homes every month is coming up quick. Then you have Ewa Beach also growing as well. What are some of the biggest challenges that you see that are facing just our district alone? And some of the strategies you want to implement to address these, just to improve our quality of life in our district?
Well, the quality of life is the key. And a big chunk of that is Hawaii's cost of living, right? So we can have the best infrastructure, the best schools, and all of that. But if we can't afford to live here, what's the purpose? And so Hawaii has a very high cost of living, and that's because of harmful policies put forth by 70 years of one-party rule, high taxation. Hawaii has the second highest tax burden in the whole country. We currently have the second highest income tax in the whole country. That's going to go down steadily in these next few years. Thank God they finally passed a bill to do that. But overall, our cost of food, our electric bills have gone up by 25% within these last 2 years. So people are feeling the pinch of inflation. I think that's the main issue. Second issue currently that is top of mind is crime. We've all seen what's been happening these last few months on the Waianae Coast, even in Kapolei, at the Kapolei skate park, right by Pu'u Kapolei. There was a stabbing. Somebody was stabbed 19 times just walking through the park. And so violence is on the rise. And so people are definitely concerned about that. Lots of robbery, thieves going through our homestead communities, our villages of Kapolei communities. So that seems to be top of mind. And then thirdly is infrastructure. Like you mentioned, we are the fastest growing district statewide, is right here in District 42. So making sure that the appropriate infrastructure is keeping pace with the growing population is key.
Like that. So you had mentioned that the skate park, right, the one in Kapolei.
Yep.
I think that's been going on for a while, right? The crime.
Homeless
And that,
problem. It's packed with homeless. They live in the bushes out there. Lots of drug activity at night, and then also that skate park has no light, so lots of kids go there to skateboard and stuff. And then the sun goes down and it's pretty dark. They hang out, cruise and stuff. Sometimes there's partying out there. But then the homeless come in, and the homeless out there are not always mentally stable, and so that causes major issues.
that you had mentioned the cut in income taxes
Yeah.
rolling out in the next couple of years. I was pretty shocked. Boy, being a very blue Democrat state, was this where you guys both came together and actually became friends and decided to cut our taxes, or how did that happen?
So all the no, not all the members, but I would say 95% of all the members in the House did vote for it. So this was a bipartisan bill, but our caucus was pushing for this for decades, going back 40 years since the 1980s, to cut the income tax here in Hawaii. And so finally, the other side did something to do that. I think, in my opinion, that's because they've been getting lots of pushback from the locals. Since the advent of social media, people are actually paying attention to what's going on in the building. Whereas 20 years ago, what you saw was just what was featured on the evening 6 o'clock news. So now it's
Right.
totally different ball game, and so they're feeling the pressure of local people here in Hawaii, and that's a good thing. They actually passed an income tax reduction. I would have liked to seen it happen immediately, but this thing happens over 5 to 7 years. So within, I think, 7 years, Hawaii will then become the fourth lowest income tax state in the country.
And this is equal among all tax brackets, right? So not
Yes.
like just a group. Everyone's getting their fair share of
Yes,
taxes.
exactly. And so some of our progressive left-wing friends were not happy about that. They wanted to have most of those tax cuts go to the poorest of poor, and have the super rich pay a lot more. But they don't quite understand economics and how that works with jobs and business and wealth creation. So anyway, it was a good bill. It wasn't perfect, but it was a step forward in the right direction.
I agree. And I'm going to go off the script of our questions, but
Yep.
this GET tax,
Mm,
I've been having an issue with for a while.
yeah.
I've been told and I realized that it's a progressive tax on all of our goods and services, down
Every-
from the vendors to when it comes up to the grocery stores and stuff like that. So would you agree that our GET tax needs to be reformed?
I agree completely. I favor a flat sales tax, right? So it's only being applied when someone purchases it from the retailer. The GE tax is placed upon production, upon transit, wholesale costs, and retail costs. So it's a really aggressive tax, and the state makes money the whole process through, from a product leaving a warehouse in Kentucky all the way till it ends up in your refrigerator. It's being taxed every step of the way, and that's just not fair.
And that's really what the cost of our goods is high, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, well, that, and then also energy costs too. So in these last 3 years, the cost of energy for fuel, for shipping, for trucks, and all that has gone up a lot, and that's really increasing the cost of food and daily things that we need.
Got it. That makes sense. I want to shift our conversation to real estate.
Yep.
Me being a real estate agent, I'm pretty sure there's a pandemic going on. This huge issue that a lot of people know about and some people don't know. Condo insurance premiums has risen substantially. And I know this because I sell condos and it's been sitting on the market.
Wow.
Condos associations have maintenance fees that once was $600 have increased to $1,300 on a homeowner, and now they're trying to sell home. They can't sell their home, and so what? The only thing that they can do is reduce the sales price,
Yep.
pointing to where prices are coming down, and we're having problems right now. To where homeowners, what they now owe, the value is not, what they owe is exceeding the value of the property, which we
Yeah.
call a short sale, right? And it's
Right.
putting them in these dire situations.
Yep.
To where they can't sell the home, or they have to go a short sale, and it's going to cause a lot of issues, ruin their credit. And so what is the state? I've heard the state is coming up with some kind of program, state insurance run program, a temporary one, I hope, just to alleviate the costs for condo insurance, because the private sector is out of control, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so my office and my caucus, our 6 members in the minority, put forth a bill this session jointly to address this condo insurance crisis. Unfortunately, the Democrats in charge refused to even hear the bill. There was also a bill put forth from the governor's office, which I think was also something worth discussing. They also killed that bill this session. And so lots of condo owners are really worried about exactly how do we pay our bills. I've had so many residents call my office at 2 o'clock in the morning, leaving voicemails saying, I honestly don't know how I'm going to pay my monthly expenses. I might have to sell and then just move to the mainland because it's just so far out of reach. Somebody called our office saying that they had a 400% increase. And that's just ridiculous. And they were crying. And it's something that's just not bearable. So there have been examples in other states like Florida, for example, where there's lots of hurricanes that come through Florida. We just saw one 2 weeks ago, category 4 and 5 that smashed through. But the state provided a hurricane insurance fund to help those who couldn't afford private market insurance. And so I think that is something worth considering. The state needs to do something immediately because this is an emergency. And unfortunately, this will require the will of both the Speaker of the House, the Senate President, and the governor's office to come together and work on something concrete that will bring immediate relief and then make sure it passes this coming session. I was actually calling for a special session. I was asking the governor to call a special session months ago because this issue surfaced about 1 year ago, really. I was asking for them to call a special session, but they didn't. And so now lots of condo homeowners have to wait till the end of next session for anything to pass.
Yeah, so no, I agree. I heard they were supposed to call a special session to address this, and now we have to wait until January or February?
Until May of next year for the session to end, and then the governor has till July to sign it into law. So really, it's about a year out.
That is crazy. That's not. There's a lot of homeowners are going to be under. And so I know this because we receive reports of homeowners that are behind on their HOA, and the HOA is pursuing foreclosures because they're not paying their HOA fees. And so HOA can pursue a foreclosure on the home, and sometimes a non-judicial foreclosure on the home, which is a faster process. And it's terrible. And I think waiting that long is just going to increase the crisis in the housing market.
I agree. And I always ask the question, what's the reasoning that we can't call a special session? It'll take 1 week. These politicians get paid a full salary, and we only work for 4 months. So why can't we just show up to work for 1 week? Let's work on something and get it done. But unfortunately, we're not in power, and so we're at the will of the Speaker of the House right now.
Well, I'm hoping maybe the Honolulu Board of Realtors probably could step in and lobby for a special session on this.
I hope so.
Next question, FEMA. I saw you in the news the other day. You addressed which is surprising to me, that the flood map is changing.
Yeah, the flood zone.
Many homeowners, and I saw that especially in Kapolei and especially areas in high elevation, will be subject to flood insurance in 2026 with the revised flood map. Tell me more about that.
So basically, FEMA has released their preliminary map. And so this map is not final. It'll have to go through a community input and multiple hearings and all that stuff. But if it is adopted in final form by 2026, homeowners who are using any kind of federal loan, be it Fannie Mac or Veterans Home Loans or USDA Home Loans, whatever it is, if there's federal monies involved, you will be required to have a flood insurance on your property, which will raise the cost. People are already struggling on their basic mortgage and their current monthly expenses. On top of that, the condo insurance crisis, and then now this, it's just adding to Hawaii's cost of living. So I basically said, the maps currently don't look like they're feasible. And why is it that our current maps show these flood zones near ocean lines, near streams and all that stuff, which makes sense. But this current map, it blankets a big portion of Ho'opili, Kapolei, and they're saying that that's because the streams run under us, which is true, they do. but still, this is just not going to be feasible for so many local families. So my office is watching this closely, and after this election, we'll definitely work with our congressional delegation to have town hall meetings about this, to bring homeowners together, to have their voices heard, because FEMA, folks have to realize that FEMA works for the people. We are in charge. So we tell them what to do. We tell our congressmen what we want. And so the residents, the homeowners, the communities have to voice their concerns and make sure that our electeds on the federal level hears us and will fight for what's affordable for us.
Yeah, because it blankets most of Kapolei too, right? My homestead community as well. It's
Right.
crazy. I never thought I would have to purchase home insurance, flood insurance in this area. It doesn't make sense. So great answer. Housing costs continue to rise. We're seeing a lot of our local families. We hear this on the news continuously. People moving to Vegas without interfering with the free market, which I always propose free market. What steps can the state take to stabilize prices and keep local families here?
Yeah, so here's a concept that is interesting. I think it needs to be flushed out more thoroughly, but it's worth considering. Last election, our party had basically this as our housing platform and pillar, with the former LG Ducayona and Peter Sabio and those guys. And that was simply this, is to create a separate local housing market. So there will still be a free regular market where people can buy and sell freely. But for local families, there would be a separate housing market. And how you do that is, if any development project is using affordable housing tax credits, the 201H program, to construct housing, they're going to have to make sure that when they sell those properties at an 80% AMI or whatever, that it's locked in. So when some local family buys it, that's affordable, 300 grand or whatever it is. When they sell the property in 20 or 30 years, they will still have appreciation. So they'll still make money on their property, but they have to sell it at the AMI, which they purchased it in 20 years from now. That way, that's still affordable for local families. So this is only applied to projects that use affordable housing tax credits.
Got it. That makes sense. And what is your thoughts on the 99-year lease that they're proposing on these? Yes, the leaseholds.
That's interesting. It's an interesting concept. I haven't seen any bill yet, so I don't know what their plans are exactly. But I would like to see thorough, detailed plan of what that entails. But I'm open to the concept, because that will definitely lower the cost of purchasing something right now.
Right. I'm interested to see how that goes. Because I know it's similar to where I think Singapore or one of these other countries, they're doing it right now, and it's pretty running successful, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And in Singapore, there's 98% home ownership. So
Hawaiian homelands. As a homesteader myself, I do sell a lot of homestead properties as well, along with other agents in my office. What we can't grasp is, why does it take so long? Or say, for example, if I was to decide to sell my homestead, right, my property, to just in the resale market, right? So anyone can buy as long as you qualify, you get pre-approved for a mortgage. I put my home on the market, you put in an offer, and then the process starts. On a typical fee simple property, it takes about 45, sometimes 60 days to close. For some reason, with the homes, DHHL, the process can take 4 to 6 months. I've had instances where other agents said they take 1 year for that to happen. What can we do? And so a lot of the times they tell us, oh, lack of staff, we can't hire anybody. And so what can we do to streamline the process? Because in my opinion, it probably should take at least 60 days. I know there's a verification process for blood quantum and all of that kind of things and stuff, which I don't think it should take that long, but we got to make it easier. So, because the homestead market's a different market, right? And we should treat it as such, right? But at the same time, we should make it easier for us to sell to another Hawaiian family if we wanted to. And streamline it and make it quick.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. And we hear the same thing. I have people call our office all the time about how long things take with Hawaiian homelands. And it's not just that process for buying houses, but simple permit to do something on your property can take sometimes 2-3 years. And so that's just ridiculous. we hear that there's a staffing issue, but the problem is I've heard that excuse for over 5 years. For all the years that I've been involved in local politics, I've heard that from DHHO, going back to Bill Ayla and Joby Masagatani days. And so if that's the case, why can't we hire homesteaders to go work for your department? There's so many vacant positions right now. And then those who currently work there, unfortunately, not all of them, but there's a lot of it where they just drag their feet and take a long time. Over one, my office has tried to schedule a simple meeting with them sometimes. It'll take 6 weeks just for them to respond to an email. That stuff is unacceptable. It needs to change, but what it takes is a strong director to hold their staff accountable and have them realize that your job isn't just a free paycheck with great government benefits. It's to help the beneficiaries of the trust. That's what the whole department was established by Prince Cohio for the local people. And so as long as there's a wait list, your foot should not be taken off of the pedal, period.
Right. And so many Hawaiians want to sell their home because they want to move, and people on a wait list want to buy their home. So, but they can't because just the process takes too long. So it deters them from selling their home.
Red tape, lots of red tape. Very
common. Cool. Last question. And so your constituents in your district of 42, why should they vote for you? What can you bring this time around? And give us your pitch.
Well, thanks. So I'm running for re-election, and I would ask the voters to re-elect me for these next 2 years so that we can continue advocating and fighting for the issues that matter most to us. I always tell folks, one party rule is just not good for society. It's not good for democracy, no matter what party it is. And so there needs to be a balanced system, a two-party system where there's debate, dialogue, different ideologies and perspectives are equally heard, discussed, and then voted on. That's what a true democracy is. Here in Hawaii, that's just not the case. These last 2 years, we've basically flipped a bunch of seats here in West Oahu, Kapolei, Ewa, Waipahu, the Waianae Coast. And so people out here are ready for change. They've lived under this one-party rule for 70 years, and it just pushed more and more local families out of Hawaii. And so what I bring to the table is simply this: being that voice, someone who is not afraid to speak up on the House floor to challenge leadership and not worry about, them cutting funding and them killing my bills or whatever. It's standing for what's right no matter what, and advocating for the issues that matter most to our homesteaders, our Voka residents, our Ho'opili residents, and our Ewa residents. The average age in our district is under 40 years old. So we are a young community, lots of growing families. The issues of cost of living, parental rights, standing for family values, these issues matter to our local families. And so I'll continue to fight and advocate for those issues these next 2 years if I have the blessing of being reelected.
Love that. Thank you, Diamond. We appreciate you coming on the show and the work that you continue to do for our community. And what day is voting and where should they vote?
Yeah, so election day is November 5th. The easiest thing to do, if you haven't voted yet, go down to the Kapolei Hale. It's open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. It's open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on election day. Make sure you vote. Every vote counts. It really does. We just saw last year a Senate race on the Waianae Coast was lost by 40 votes. So every vote counts. Please vote and vote Garcia.
Yeah. Thank you, Diamond. I appreciate you being on the show, and good luck in the upcoming elections.